We traded Micah Parsons to the Packers? Nah, this is fake. Wait, is this real?
This will go down as one of the worst trades in the history of their football team and their organization.
I think he's going to be a really, really good fit for our locker room, really good fit for our team.
I never thought I'd be traded, But, that's the harsh reality. Everything happens for a reason. It's a blessing in disguise. I'm going to figure it out. The Packers organization made the right decision and trusted me. I'm going to carry that with me.
Jerry Jones had absolutely no idea of the storm he was about to stir up among Cowboys fans when he decided to trade Micah Parsons. The fallout of this move is already being felt, and to make matters worse, the trade just became even more controversial. For those who might have missed the full story, here's what happened. The Dallas Cowboys shipped Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in return for 2 first-round picks, 2026 and 2027, along with a defensive tackle, Pro Bowl veteran Kenny Clark. Right after that, the Packers wasted no time securing Parsons with a monster deal. 4 years, $188 million, with $136 million guaranteed. That instantly makes him the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history, earning $47 million per season. And just like that, fans erupted. Because when you really think about it, Dallas basically gave up Parsons for 2 late first-round selections. Why late? Because Green Bay now has the second-best odds to win the NFC after acquiring him. This wasn't like sending him to a struggling team such as the Browns, Jets, Saints, or Giants franchises where the picks might have landed higher. Instead, Dallas sent him straight to a contender. That means those first-rounders are likely going to fall somewhere in the 20s, which explains why Cowboy Nation is fuming. Honestly, it's hard to argue with them. Reactions have been flooding social media, and a lot of them are savage.
My pleasure to introduce you to the Dallas Cowboys' newest player. Well, great to have you, and we're going to step up and do.
Back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin quarter mile. Are you serious? I'm dead serious. How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountain? Yeah.
Cowboys fans aren't holding back one bit.
Keep doing what you're doing, Jerry. We love you in Philly.
This is officially the worst trade in NFL history. I can't believe the Cowboys just handed over a future Hall of Famer to the Packers. From what I'm hearing, Dallas knew there was no shot of keeping him, and the locker room dynamic wasn't great either. Basically, they didn't want to pay him $200 million, and now he's Green Bay's problem. And then, Micah Parsons himself opened up. At his very first press conference with Green Bay, he actually got emotional while talking about how much he'd miss his teammates and coaches in Dallas.
I never thought I'd be traded, But, that's the harsh reality. I got kids, I got, a house, I got family that all moved down for me. And it's a change, right? I don't know what to expect. I never had seen anything outside of Dallas. And, Dallas is pretty nice itself. I wish things didn't have to be like this.
That raw honesty reminded me of what Jerry Jones said during his Hall of Fame speech when he first acquired Parsons.
Decision to make this deal today?
Yes.
Who was involved in that process?
And the representatives of the entire coaching, as well as our entire front office. I really do get huge input and dialogue and opinions from everybody in our organization, and this was unanimous.
Look, we loved Micah. He's a great player, a great person. But at the end of the day, this is a business decision. We're building for the long term. And this move was about positioning our franchise for the future. Except the problem is, nobody is buying it. Because let's face it, Dallas gave up an elite player in his prime, someone who has the ability to change a game single-handedly for what will likely be 2 mid to late first-round picks. It feels like the Cowboys basically punted on competing in the near term. Packers fans, on the other hand, they're ecstatic. They can't believe they actually pulled this off. Their defense was already strong, but now, with Micah Parsons alongside Rashawn Gary, Jair Alexander, and Kenny Clark, they might just have built the most terrifying defense in the NFC. Green Bay fans have been quick to share their thoughts too. This is insane. Parsons is exactly what this defense needed. We're going to make life miserable for every quarterback we face. Jordan Love just got the best gift of his career. Our defense will keep games close, and all he has to do is manage the offense. We're Super Bowl contenders, no doubt. Meanwhile, Cowboys fans are questioning Jerry Jones' leadership. I don't know what Jerry's thinking. We had a chance to win with Parsons, and now we're just hoping 2 draft picks pan out? It's classic Cowboys. One fan even said, "This feels like the Herschel Walker trade all over again." Except this time, we're on the wrong side of it. And let's be real, they're not wrong. Because when you have a generational talent like Parsons, you don't let him walk, you build your team around him. And yet, Dallas decided they weren't willing to commit. So now, here we are, Micah Parsons in Green Bay, Jerry Jones defending the move, Cowboys fans furious, and Packers fans already dreaming about hoisting the Lombardi. Now, let's break this down a little deeper. When you think of what Micah Parsons meant to the Cowboys, it's not just about the sacks, the pressures, or the tackles. It's the energy, the way he completely shifted the tone of a defense just by stepping on the field. Players like that don't come around often. He wasn't just another star player, he was the centerpiece of Dan Quinn's defense, the guy offensive coordinators lost sleep over every single week. And to trade him away for draft picks that might not even translate into Pro Bowl level talent? It's a risk that feels almost reckless. Sure, Kenny Clark is a solid addition. He's a strong, proven defensive tackle, but he's also on the back half of his career. So when you weigh it all out, the Cowboys essentially swapped a game-changing superstar for a veteran stopgap and a couple of lottery tickets. Cowboys fans see this clearly. That's why the outrage hasn't slowed down one bit. On social media, one fan vented, "Jerry just destroyed our defense. Parsons was the heart and soul. I don't care about first-round picks. Half of them don't pan out anyway." Another fan chimed in, "I don't even want to watch this season anymore. We went from being contenders to rebuilding overnight." It's that kind of emotional fallout that shows just how deeply Parsons connected with Cowboys Nation. He wasn't just a player, he was their hope. Meanwhile, over in Green Bay, the reaction is the complete opposite. Packers fans are buzzing with optimism. They're already imagining a defense that strikes fear into opponents every Sunday. Rashawn Gary collapsing the edge, Kenny Clark clogging the middle, Jair Alexander locking down receivers, and now Micah Parsons flying all over the field. One fan wrote, "Quarterbacks in the NFC should just retire now. With Parsons in Green Bay, it's over." Another said, "This is the best move since we drafted Aaron Rodgers. You don't just get a chance at players like Parsons. You take it every single time." And here's the kicker. The Packers are paying him like the superstar he is. That 4-year, $188 million deal with $136 million guaranteed? That's a statement. That's Green Bay saying, "We're all in." Now, let's not forget what this means for the rest of the NFC. Teams like the 49ers, the Eagles, and even the Lions now have to deal with a Green Bay defense that just got a whole lot scarier. And that shifts the balance of power. Because as much as football is about offense, championships are often won with elite defenses. Just ask the 2015 Broncos or the 2000 Ravens. So while Cowboys fans are left scratching their heads, Packers fans are celebrating like it's Christmas in August. But here's where it gets interesting. Micah Parsons isn't the type of guy to just fade into the background. He thrives on proving people wrong. And now, with Dallas essentially giving up on him, you can bet he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder bigger than ever. At his introductory press conference, Parsons didn't hide his emotions. He talked about how much he valued his time in Dallas, but also how excited he was for this new chapter. "I'm grateful for everything Dallas did for me, but now I'm ready to give everything I have to Green Bay. This is a fresh start, and I'm going to make it count." That's the kind of mindset that should terrify the rest of the league, because a motivated Micah Parsons is already one of the most dangerous defenders in football. Add fuel to that fire, and you might be looking at a Defensive Player of the Year campaign. Still, this whole saga raises a bigger question. What exactly is Jerry Jones thinking? The Cowboys have been stuck in this cycle for decades now, a cycle of almost good enough, talented teams that fall short in January. And when you finally have a generational player, the kind you can build an entire roster around, the decision is to trade him? It almost feels like history repeating itself. Cowboys fans remember the Herschel Walker trade vividly. Back then, it worked out in Dallas's favor. This time, though, it's starting to feel like the reverse. Instead of the Cowboys fleecing another team, they may have just been on the wrong side of history. And here's the scary part. This could set the tone for the next decade. If those 2 first-round picks don't pan out, if Kenny Clark doesn't hold up, and if Micah Parsons goes on to dominate in Green Bay, this trade will be remembered as one of the biggest blunders of Jerry Jones's career. One analyst summed it up perfectly. Draft picks are valuable, sure, but proven talent, especially at Micah's level, is priceless. The Cowboys gave up certainty for hope, and that's never a safe gamble. Meanwhile, Green Bay is sitting pretty. They didn't just add Parsons, they weakened a rival in the process. Because let's face it, Dallas was a threat. With Parsons, their defense was elite. Without him, suddenly there are cracks. And in the NFL, those cracks get exposed quickly. So, while Cowboys fans are venting their frustration online, Packers fans are popping champagne. And honestly, can you blame them? Because when it's all said and done, trades like this don't come around often. And when they do, it's usually one team walking away with the upper hand. Right now, it's pretty clear which side that is. But here's where the story gets even deeper. This wasn't just a football move. This was a statement about the future of two franchises moving in completely different directions. For Dallas, this feels like another chapter in a frustrating cycle. The Cowboys talk about building for tomorrow, about setting themselves up for long-term success. But in doing so, they sacrifice the here and now. And the reality is, Cowboys fans are tired of hearing about the future. They want results today. They've been waiting since the mid-90s for that 6th Lombardi trophy, and every year, it feels just out of reach. Trading Micah Parsons doesn't just impact the defense, it impacts the entire identity of the team. Because when you lose a player like him, the confidence of the locker room takes a hit. Those guys know Parsons was special. They know he made their jobs easier. And now, without him, there's a void that can't simply be filled with a draft pick or two. One veteran reportedly told a reporter off the record, "We all love Kenny, but losing Micah, man, that one hurts. That changes everything." Contrast that with what's happening in Green Bay. Over there, this move lit a fire under the locker room. Suddenly, guys are buzzing, energized, ready to prove they can be the most dominant defense in the league. It's amazing how one player can shift the entire mentality of a roster. Jordan Love, the young quarterback trying to carve out his legacy, now knows he has a defense behind him that can carry the load. He doesn't have to play hero ball. He doesn't have to put up 35 points every game. With Micah Parsons flying around on defense, Green Bay can win ugly. They can win physical. They can grind out victories the way championship teams do. This is why Packers fans are so excited, because they see the bigger picture. They see a team that's finally blending its rich tradition with bold, aggressive moves for the future. And in Green Bay, that's rare. They've always been more conservative when it comes to roster building. This, though, this is a win-now move, and it sends a message to the rest of the league. The Packers aren't here to just compete. They're here to dominate. Now, let's circle back to Jerry Jones for a second. The man has built a legacy on taking risks. Sometimes they've paid off, sometimes they've backfired. But this one? This feels like the kind of move that defines an era. When asked about the trade, Jerry defended it strongly. He said, "We love Micah, but this was about the bigger picture. We believe in building a roster that's sustainable. Draft picks give us flexibility, they give us options, and we believe in our scouting department to maximize that." Sounds good on paper, but in reality, fans don't want to hear about flexibility. They want to hear about winning, and winning now. Because while the Cowboys wait for those picks to develop, the Packers will be unleashing Parsons on opposing quarterbacks week after week. Imagine this. It's December. The Cowboys are fighting for a playoff spot, and Micah Parsons is in Lambeau, terrorizing an NFC rival. You don't think Cowboys fans are going to be watching that and thinking, "That should have been us"? Of course they will. And that's what makes this trade so hard to stomach. You don't let generational talent walk out the door. Not when you've spent decades searching for exactly that. But maybe, just maybe, this ends up being the shakeup Dallas needed. Maybe those picks turn into stars. Maybe Kenny Clark provides stability in the short term. Maybe, somehow, it all works out. But right now, the optics aren't good. And in sports, perception matters just as much as reality. Meanwhile, over in Wisconsin, the love fest continues. Packers players are already talking about how Parsons changes everything. The defense held a team meeting after the trade was announced, and one coach reportedly said, "This is the missing piece. This is what puts us over the top." And honestly, he might be right. The Packers already had the bones of a strong defense. What they lacked was that one guy who could take over a game by himself. The kind of player that makes offensive coordinators throw out entire sections of their playbook. And now they've got him. Think about what that means. Every single snap, opposing offenses will have to account for Parsons. Double team him? Fine. That frees up Rashawn Gary or Preston Smith. Try to run away from him? He's too fast. Keep a tight end in to block? That takes a weapon out of the passing game. This is why players like Parsons are so rare. They don't just impact plays, they impact entire game plans. And in a league where the margin for error is razor thin, that's the kind of edge that changes everything. So as the dust settles on this blockbuster trade, one thing is becoming clear. Green Bay believes they just stole a superstar. Dallas believes they're building for tomorrow. But the fans are the ones who will ultimately decide how this is remembered. Cowboys Nation will either look back and say this was the turning point that set them up for a new dynasty, or they'll say it was the blunder that cost them years of contention. Packers fans, on the other hand, already know how they'll remember it, as the day their team went from good to great, from competitive to terrifying, from hopeful to legitimate contenders. And that's what makes this trade so fascinating, because trades like this don't happen often in the NFL. Superstars usually don't move in their prime, especially not defensive players who have the potential to be generational. But here we are. Micah Parsons, once the face of Dallas, now wearing green and gold. It almost doesn't feel real. For years, Cowboys fans have been told, "This is our year." For years, they've been sold on the promise of a roster ready to break through. And every time, something happens. A playoff collapse, an injury, a misstep. And now, just when it seemed like they had the formula, they've traded away the one guy who felt untouchable. Meanwhile, the Packers, an organization that usually values patience and development, flipped the script. They took the big swing. And right now, it feels like they connected. Packers fans are already imagining Lambeau Field under the lights, with Parsons charging off the edge as the crowd roars. They're already dreaming of Super Bowls, of banners, of legacies, and who can blame them? This is why we love sports, because moments like this shift the balance of power, because one trade can redefine two franchises for the next decade. Now, let's zoom out for a second. The NFL is a league built on parity. Every year, teams rise and fall. But what doesn't change is the importance of star power. The teams that win championships almost always have that guy, that player who refuses to be denied. That's what Green Bay believes they've just secured. And Dallas? Well, they're gambling that the collective is stronger than the individual, that the sum of their draft picks, their culture, their system can make up for the loss of one transcendent player. It's a bold bet, but bold doesn't always mean smart. So, what happens next? In the short term, expect Green Bay's defense to take a leap. Expect Parsons to be everywhere rushing the passer, dropping into coverage, blowing up running plays. Expect Lambeau to feel a little louder, a little more alive, every time number 11 takes the field. For Dallas, the immediate road is tougher. They'll have to adjust their scheme, find new leaders, and prove that they can win without the guy who has been their heartbeat on defense. And every step of the way, they'll be asked the same question: why did you let him go? And that question will hang over them until they either prove it was the right call or until they crumble under the weight of what they lost. Because here's the truth. If Dallas struggles, if their defense falters, if those draft picks don't pan out, this trade will haunt them. It will become the moment fans point to as the mistake that set them back years. But if somehow, some way they turn this into a dynasty, then Jerry Jones will be remembered as a visionary who had the courage to make the tough call. Time will tell. For now, all we know is this. Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer, and that changes everything. It changes the NFC playoff picture. It changes the Cowboys' identity. It changes how we look at both of these franchises for the foreseeable future. And most of all, it changes how fans feel. Because at the end of the day, football isn't just about X's and O's. It's about emotion. It's about hope. It's about belief. Right now, Packers fans believe more than ever. Cowboys fans, they're left questioning, wondering, doubting. That's the beauty and the pain of the NFL. One decision, one trade, one moment can shift the entire landscape. So buckle up, because this story is far from over. Micah Parsons in Green Bay is just the beginning.